Now, if it's one thing I'm going to do, it's speak truth to power. It might come off medium ghetto and a little bit reckless, but I swear I mean well. And so, let me apologize in advance. I may ruffle some feathers. You know, God gave me a whole lot of audacity, a big ass mouth, and a tiny bit of couth. And perhaps, maybe I'm about to get my cookout birthright snatched up. But I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So, identity politics are dead, y'all. And I'm not talking about RuPaul dead or Cher dead. There's no All-Stars. There's no reunion tour. There's no revival. Mama is rule of law dead. Ned Stark dead. Full-blown...
Yeah, like rigor mortis, habeas corpus.
I know. Boo! Hiss! Dooley, how could you say something so radical?
Brother, this guy stinks!
Hard R, double T, I know. But maybe just hear me out before y'all hang me on the cross. I mean, I did see you swipe your Tamex last month, and, that conversation that you had on Twitter, I clocked it. And yes, her name is Twitter. It's one of the few occurrences of dead naming that I'll allow because one, that's what her mama named her, and number two, fuck e. Anywho, before y'all flood my mentions, like, share, comment, subscribe, and give me a chance to make myself clear. I don't mean identity doesn't matter, and I'm not saying the various layers and dimensions of diversity that help make you up are invalid or dismissible. It's actually quite the opposite, actually. My position is that identity politics, once a radical tool for survival and clocking those with whom you could ally with, particularly for those in the working class and marginalized folks, has been gutted, chewed up, spit.
You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok,
and repackaged as a soulless husk. Think about it. We see a black woman running a $1 billion company, and we say, wow, progress. Meanwhile, X company underpays black workers, busts unions, supports policies and politicians trying to ban drag, fund proxy wars, and teach everyone that white daddy Jesus chose them to tariff your J's and garnish your little GameStop checks. Bell Hooks once said, what we do is more important than what we say, and what we say, we believe. And I'm genuinely confused because today, we treat representation like revolution. And once again, don't get me wrong, okay, public school, put down the weapon. I also believe that sometimes existing can be an active revolution just as being visible. But are we missing the forest for the trees? I mean, have we confused visibility with victory? A complicated black president, his presidency, and white kids rapping Kendrick lyrics?
How many stocks do I really have in stock? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5.
With liberty and justice for all?
69 God, freaky ass.
I may not know algebra, but what I do know is in 1977, a collective of black radical feminists wrote something called the Combahee River Collective Statement. They said that major systems of oppression are interlocking. They connect. They were poor, black, queer, socialist women who knew you couldn't fight racism without fighting capitalism. And you couldn't fight patriarchy while playing water sports with your boss. Picture it. 1977. Jimmy Carter is president. The greatness that is Three's Company premieres. And the gays taught Anita Bryant what happens when you fuck around.
Because if you don't flaunt it, who's going to know you're homosexual or not, you see? What they wanted to do was to flaunt it and to not lose their jobs because of it. If we were going to go on a crusade across the nation and try to do away with the homosexuals, then we certainly would have done it on June the 8th after one of the most overwhelming victories in the country. But we didn't. We tried to avoid it and went into a place called Norfolk, Virginia, and were met with protest and all kinds of problems. And
Security agent.
But most importantly, for our purposes, identity politics wasn't a string of self-important hashtags on LinkedIn or a 72-hour dumpster fire of shit posts your auntie Tootsie Scooter keeps tagging you in on Facebook. In the 70s, this was the real deal. It was survival. The Combahee River Collective famously insisted that race, class, gender, ability, or whatever two or more dimensions of diversity that you experience are always experienced simultaneously. They interlocked and therefore must be fought together. This is how we end up identifying two of the most important pillars of actual liberation. We have class solidarity and intersectionality. I have this half-baked hypothesis that this is how we get variants of cool white people. You know the people I'm talking about, like Jane Fonda, Bernie Sanders, Pedro Pascal, Hall & Oates, your cool uncle who lets you smoke weed in his backyard next to his Buddhist Zen garden. But that's another episode for another time. So y'all come back now, you hear? So once again, in short, the CRC maintained that sexism, racism, homophobia, ability, whichever dimension, weren't toppings on an oppression-style pizza. These aren't buzzwords that you rip out when you're pissed off because somebody cut off your Subaru in the Wegmans parking lot. These are not wounds to be compared, scars to be shown, or tools to make you feel better because you know what the struggle is. These were words used to identify integral ingredients baked into the damn crust of society. It's woven into the fabric. These women, they didn't want a seat at somebody else's table. They wanted a new damn table. These are the times that your meemaw and your granddaddy reminisce about. I'm Betty and them, you know, family reunion. Family reunion. And that's this time. You know, those songs, those are songs of struggle because the community decided that they were going to come together and provide value to each other. Why? The government wasn't doing it. The rich people wasn't doing it. And the white people sure as hell wasn't doing it. You had to turn to your brother and you had to turn to your sister because that's who you had to rely on. You ever wonder why some older folks in your life may be really enthusiastic about engaging with the neighbors? Ooh, Mr. Rogers asked for a cup of sugar. Can you run over there? Or, ooh, we don't have any vegetable oil. Can you ask Miss Crabtree if we could loan some? These are pivotal skills that were learned during this time. Because there was no one else to step up, the community did. So, we got cool things like community-run childcare, health clinics, bartering and trading, Michael Jackson's first nose.
Why, you just a straw paper dummy!
You're right, fellas. I was just being self.
And then America makes a string of really strong decisions.
In the 80s there was Cold War drama. We fought the commies inside Nicaragua. Our friends were the Contras. Freedom was their mantra, so we sent them lots of money for guns and landmines.
Finally tonight, an obituary. We take a look at the man whose nomination to the Supreme Court in the 1980s dramatically changed that process.
As a nationally known jurist and legal scholar, Robert Bork was a mainstay of conservative jurisprudence for more than half a century.
It is not a cliche to make a distinction between interpreting a document as law and making up new principles that are not in the Constitution.
Those views fueled a titanic struggle over his 1987 nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court, a fight that became a seminal moment in altering the process for all future nominees.
Death and taxes and the picture of George Washington on the dollar bill, those are among the few constants in a changing world. But now another of those constants may be changing. Coca-Cola is about to announce what it calls the most significant development in its history. James McManus reports.
When the slime starts to rise.
The Titanic just arrived.
When ghosts start arriving by the boatload.
We gotta find the guys.
There's only one thing to do.
Look out! Look out! Sometimes weird things happen. Someone has to deal with it. And who are you gonna call?
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Quayle.
The President has directed United States forces to execute at 1:00 a.m. this morning pre-planned missions in Panama to protect American lives, restore the democratic process, preserve the integrity of the Panama Canal treaties, and apprehend Manuel Noriega.
It was designed, ostensibly, to stop drug use and drug dealing across the United States. But what ended up happening is that it entangled millions of black people in the criminal legal system for generations. For some people, this was an adverse consequence of a well-intentioned policy. But for others, this is exactly what they wanted the policy to do.
All right, this is the moment all the science heads in the room have been waiting for. Can you recite to me Newton's third law of motion? Go ahead. I'll wait. Baby, you said that beautifully. Absolutely. For every reaction, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That means when two objects interact, they apply forces to each other that are equal and opposite in magnitude and direction. This applies not only to physics and long labyrinthine Marvel movies, but it also has the tendency to ring true in sociology, especially when it comes to geopolitical standing, especially when it comes to American politics. But then in 1989, we get the good Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who coins prolific DEI fan fave term intersectionality, CRC's spiritual brainchild and soul sister. Before Dr. Crenshaw's 1989 essay, Black feminist organizers like the CRC understood interlocking impressions, but there wasn't a crisp, brandable, trendy academic term for it. Intersectionality gave activists and scholars a way to point out the crossroads where race, class, gender, and other dimensions collide in a way that everyone could understand. The Combahee River Collective lived intersectional politics in the 70s, Crenshaw codified it in the 80s, and trailblazed through the 90s and the aughts, influencing a whole breed of scholars, including me. I used her when I wrote my dissertation. They tried to bury us, but didn't know we were seeds. But as the old adage goes, 2 steps forward, take 2 steps back. Yo, when I talk about having deja vu on the panel or any of the other spaces you might catch me on the internet, I'm being quite literal. We're seeing a carbon copy of what happened then, today.
First item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions.
On day one, just hours after taking the oath of office, Trump signed an executive order eliminating all Biden-era DEI programs from the federal government. The following heads of agencies and departments to close all DEI offices. He also signed another executive order ending DEI hiring at the FAA.
The mainstream always needs something to consume, so why not consume your greatest op? Once the struggle had a new name, sure, she was more digestible. Folks were able to find community. Everyone in the peanut gallery could understand the material. So the question remains, right? How the hell we get here?
Let's go, let's go!
Well, with visibility comes the challenge of being more easily identifiable. And when things are more easily identifiable, they're more easily tracked, shot, dissected, and hung on a wall of an S&P 500 boardroom or in the kitchenette of your favorite racist LGBT nonprofit. Now, I don't mean to be stingy with the details. I'm not trying to be reductionist. I'm literally trying to catalog about 50 years of history in about 10 minutes because y'all don't watch nothing more than 3 seconds. So bear with me. I'm coming to make my point. Now, remember what I said about Newton's third law, right? Once intersectionality landed in corporate DI decks, it was stripped and plucked of its radical content. They detached it from its roots. Now, on one hand, yes, girl, we have a term, we got some understanding, but when you take something like that and change its context, we're moving from academia now to layman, and I'm not saying that to be rude and nasty, girl, that I'm literally using the word from the definitions, okay? We're taking it out of an academic context and moving it into a layman context. It's something different. And when you take something from academia and break it down for everyone else, sometimes you have to make concessions so people understand. Baby, I could have got up here and been talking about Karl Marx and hegemony, and radio immunoassays, and y'all have been looking at me like, what is this man on? That you would not have understood what I was saying, right? Same idea, same concept. However, instead of us actually learning about intersectionality and what it means, it turns into a conversation about bullet points. It's literally bullet points on the slide. How many times have you been at work for your DEI training and pressed play and then walked away? How many times have you sat for a training and been like, girl, what is this? This don't make sense. Same concept. Instead of teaching people about mass organizing, rallying, unionizing, pushing for living wage jobs, fighting against police brutality, seeking to dismantle homophobia, fighting for pay equity, fighting for, girl, there's so much, fighting for the earth, fighting for the universe, so on and so forth. Institutions adopt the language, but ignore the demand or the call for those things. They're ignoring the call and the demand for redistribution. Let's be clear. When organizations adopt the language of the oppressed or the people that are experiencing negative consequences, but sever it from the actual goals or the actual context of that language, you then create this experience where identity claims become hollow badges of inclusivity instead of a rallying call for structural change. So now we have a whole bunch of splintered people separated into discrete interest groups chasing the opportunity to be seen. They're chasing their heritage celebration. They're chasing Juneteenth because you get a day off. We're not actually fighting or chasing for liberation anymore. We're not pushing for qualitative change or freedom or justice for all. We're now stuck in a race. It's a race. I'm winning. That race just to be seen. Does that sound like liberation to you? Ain't that mind-blowing? It certainly pisses me off a lot. We were so focused on making sure we could put our pronouns in our Microsoft Outlook signature and making sure that everybody knew that we were a bisexual, bipartisan drag queen ready for the motherfucking runway. Meanwhile, the people that got the money and the power is playing along like we actually making some progress. That's crazy. We have been led astray. We have been distracted.
The devil met with Russia and they just made a deal. We was marching through the street, they were blocking every field.
No, but for real, Janelle, for real, everybody's busy climbing to the top rung. Meanwhile, the whole letter is on fire. And that's because we forgot the CRC's core lesson. We forgot the stitching that wove together the entire quilt. We have to fight oppression together, not in isolation. You can't do the gays and the homophobia first, and then the billionaires and the classism, and then the men and the patriarchy. Baby, this is all happening simultaneously. They are all interlocked, interwoven, and therefore we gotta come for all the girls. Now, against my better judgment, I'm omitting a section about Patricia Hill Collins because she has some really nasty things to say about this and she ate the girls up. But once again, y'all don't watch nothing more than 3 minutes, so we're going to have to come back to her another time. But it's really important for you to understand that intersectionality gave identity politics its early edge, and then through institutional appropriation, helped turn it into a marketplace of identities. The very principle meant to unite struggles from different areas, from different continents, from different life experiences, got narrowed and boiled down into brand safe, sterile categories that undercuts the CRC's original vision for collective material struggle. And in my view, essential to why identity politics today often feels soft and dead on arrival. Baby, we are in this $1 million building, eating $1,000 potbelly order, talking about blood diamonds in Africa. That feels weird, girl, does it not? So let's get to the call of action, because I did not just sit here to just run my mouth just in this video. My point is, we need both identity awareness and class strategy. Not shortcuts, not empty language, not hollow promises, not talking heads over on CNN, Fox News, AP, baby girl, none of that. What we need is action. We need people to actually get up and do things. So let's talk about that. Baby girl, I know, it feels very good to log online and in all caps tell the girls how you're an agender, biracial, vegan, first generation, indigenous priest from Mongolia leading today's wellness circle. But unless any of those adjectives come along with practical actions or smart goals, some interventions, baby, you could have saved all that air. Here are my suggestions. 1, join a labor union. I'm a part of DC 37. Ask your employer. See what's going on around. Baby, shop local. Support the tenants association. Visit farmers markets. Swipe somebody into the MTA. Build coalitions beyond your bubble. You know, we always talk about Issa Rae. Remember when she said sometimes you gotta reach across the aisle and collaborate with your neighbor? We need to start doing more of that. Let's kill company identity politics and resurrect the real thing. Solidarity, togetherness, engagement, relationship. That's how we win this. Baby, there's no way that, let me not say no way. There is a lesser chance for us to try to achieve our way out of this, a lesser chance to try to earn our way out of this. Baby, we got to get creative. We have to create our way out of this, and we have to fellowship our way out of this. No more of that, duly we broke, we ain't got no money, you know, I'm already working 40 hours a week. Like, you are absolutely right. Those things are true. However, there's several things that you can do to help bridge the gap and help make things better. Let me show you this chart that I found. Let me present to you the social change ecosystem map. You can see all the folks who made this at the bottom. All the receipts are there. But this is something that was shared with me at NCORE, the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity. I had an opportunity to go back in, I think I went in 2023 is when I went. And I went on a presentation about this, particularly because I wanted to know how I could be of better service in the community. But I always felt bad because I am not a direct action person. Baby, I got a mouth, I got a brain, but the way that my anxiety is set up, I am not confident that I won't leave in a body bag. Cause somebody said the wrong thing. Like my mom is probably watching this. We're not even gonna take you down that road, Dion. It's okay, girl. But the way that my anxiety is set up, I know that is not the best way for me to show up for a cause. What does work for me? Well, I'm great at storytelling. I'm good at teaching others. I'm a home chef. I love cooking. So that means I can help educate others. I can help mentor. I can help feed the picket line. Baby, I might not be able to get up to the sign and march with y'all, but I will make sure that you got some collard greens and neck bone for lunch and you got some fresh water, okay? My point is that there's more than one way to show up. Get into this, take a look at this chart, hit up all the tags at the bottom, hit up those people if you want to know more. There's more than one way to show up. For the Bible thumpers in the room, y'all gonna know this one. And to much is given, much is required. You know, for a Christian nation who loves Jesus, we surely forget that part. To much is given, much is required. Ooh, hold on, what's my other fave? A faith without works is dead. Baby, I didn't write that one on this script, bitch, but that one just came to me. I forgot about her. That's one of my favorites too. Ooh, she almost got away from me. You don't necessarily have to give away your money, but you may have to give your time. Give of your gifts. Everyone has something within their own pedigree that they can use to help a cause, to help resist, to help make things better for someone. And so what I'm asking is, much like I got my tail up to make this video today, despite also working 40 hours, that you look at your life and see how you can also show up. Once again, to take this all back to the beginning, I'm not saying identity politics are dead because identity fails. They're dead because we chase applause, we chase representation over actual action. And we owe it to the Combahee River Collective, the Marxists, the Davises, the Hamptons, the Cicely Tysons of the world to get up off that thing and to choose our form of resistance. Because truth to power, the people before us, many of them didn't have that choice. And so what are you going to do with yours?